Welcome to the Real People, Real Business Show, where we're talking with business owners who are in the trenches, everyday people who are working hard and have relevant and inspiring stories that you can relate to. Everyone we speak to is actively building and growing their business and is here to share their experiences, lessons, wisdom, and guidance so you can be inspired to take action towards your own goals. Today, I'm so excited to welcome my client, Shannon Johnson. Shannon is a health and wealth coach, natural health guru, and a coffee CEO. If you like all things health and all things coffee, you've tuned into the right episode. Welcome to the show, Shannon. Thanks so much for taking the time to share your story today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I know, and I know that we can talk forever and on and on and on.
Yep.
I would love to hear, kind of in a nutshell, what's your journey been like so far? How did you arrive where you are right now?
That's a great question and fairly loaded. It started about 14 years ago when my son was born, and he had a medical condition. And as we were trying to navigate his journey through the Western medicine world, I became less and less enamored with how they were helping us. And as a lot of moms who recognize their motherly power with their kids and how we're the voice for our children, I thought, you know what? I'm going to figure this out myself because I just didn't like the answers we were getting or the lack thereof. So I began my journey in studying natural health, all things natural health. And when I say that, I mean truly natural health, traditional natural health, herbs and food and, truly natural remedies, not Western medicine naturopathy. So that's kind of what sparked the interest. And I thought I was going to heal my child on my own, which ended up not happening. He had a structural issue, which we did need to have surgery. So, I think that Western medicine definitely serves its place in something like that. However, what it did for me was it helped me recognize one of my intense passions is to see people get healthy in a natural way without giving all of our power over to doctors, which is essentially the story of my son. And as I recognized my power as a mom through this journey, I started to see how this could benefit every single person, because that is what happens so often. We just turn our power straight over to another person.
And so you took that passion, right? And tell me the story of how you built this into a business. And there's lots of channels here, right?
Yes, there's a lot of channels, and the world kept opening and opening for me. And I started to teach. First of all, people were coming to me with questions, and I kind of realized, I think I'm kind of good at this. I have a knack for it. And I had a bit of an intuition. Somebody could come to me with a question and I would almost feel the answer. And as I would give them a response and they would go out and try whatever I recommended, they would come back and say things like, "Oh, you saved my life," or "Thank you for that. I feel so much better now." And I just kept getting all of these positive responses. And I thought, I think there might be something here. I think I'm supposed to help heal people. And, there's a lot of variations of what that means, but I'm a bit of a teacher at heart. And so what I really love to do is help educate people and then also help inspire them to take their health into their own hands. So I arm them with knowledge. I help them make the decision for themselves and feel comfortable and confident with their decision. And then they are the ones that are owning that from that point forward. So fast forward to today, here I am. I'm officially launching. I've done a lot of different things. I've done massage. I have done essential oils and all of the different things that I've learned. I'm putting it all together so that I can have basically a natural healthcare practice where I teach and educate people to take their health into their own hands and make their decisions and get foundational health back rather than just treating it with medicine or drugs. And I think it's even more relevant to today in what we're seeing going on in our world, because there are so many people that are increasingly disappointed with Western medicine and how Western medicine has responded, not only to the pandemic and the things that are current events in the world, but they're not feeling better. It's like putting a Band-Aid on an artery bleed. They don't feel like they're getting a true resolution and a fix to their problem. So whereas Western medicine providers, they treat symptoms and they'll cover that symptom up, and as long as the symptom stops, they're happy. What I like to do is I get to the root cause. And that sometimes even means going to the emotional root of an issue and clearing that out so that your body can heal, because that can actually stop the body's natural healing process.
And so you've been on an interesting journey business wise, right? So this is you've got all your training, you've done a lot of training and you've done a lot of certification and you had this real intention of true holistic health, right? And
Hmm.
down to, like you mentioned, the emotional side and the psychological side of our health, which is not real, right?
Right.
So from a business perspective, tell me a little bit more about how you have evolved and what you're evolving into, because this is a real transition time for you, right?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of fear on my journey, and I am getting to a point now where I'm feeling this boldness inside me where I am just not interested in compromising anymore. I believe so strongly that this is my mission, to serve people, to help them heal, to even help turn their attention to something that they never looked at before, expand their minds into other possibilities. And I'm not just talking about alternative, air quotes there. I'm not just talking about alternative ways. A lot of times people literally think Western medicine is it. And so even when they come to see me, they expect sort of the same process or the same workflow, and it's very, very different. So as I've evolved to this place, I'm ready to get out there and just help as many people heal as possible. That's sort of what's really on fire for me right now. Yes, it started with me wanting to heal my son, but now I realize that all of the stuff that I have learned is nothing unless I turn around and give it back and help others understand the way that the body is naturally. We're an organic computer, so to throw lab created medicines at it can complicate things more, can cause more issues, can cause your organs to fail, for example. So I want people to understand how to basically treat an organic computer and how to feed it properly, how to get all of the right foundations in place. And I guess the best way to sum that up is to just say, I feel so strongly that this is my mission. Um, and the coffee side of this is sort of it's another one of my passions, and I have a lot of different passions, and this one actually converges quite well, because if you look at the foundations of coffee, what do we think of when we go to have coffee with somebody? It's conversation, it's interaction, it's relationship with other people, and it's a place where you can gain trust or earn trust of others. And you're listening to each other. It's a very intimate type conversation, and I feel that that's a lot of the same type of a thing. I feel that it connects. And on top of that, I could also recite all of the benefits of coffee, the health benefits of coffee, because there are a lot actually. But I just think that there is something so organic about having this social conversation over coffee and learning from one another. And that is not the world we've just come out of from the pandemic. That is not, it looks like we're kind of heading back that direction again. To remove that is very, very scary. There's a lot of fear when we can't connect as people. So that's essentially what I want to do, is really connect with other people through natural health. And if the conversation has to start over a cup of joe, then I'm all for it.
Okay, so the big transition I want to talk about though is you leaning into being 100% business owner, right? Like you
Mm,
giving
yes.
yourself permission to go and do this on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is a decision that I go back and forth on a lot, but I am feeling less and less fear as I go. And I'm almost 42, and I am feeling like I don't want to spend any more of my life in fear. I don't want fear to be the thing that has held me back from doing what I know I can do. And that is help people see a new way, help people get healing, help people connect over a cup of coffee, whatever that is. I was always told when I was growing up, you have to go to college, you have to go to college. And we were very poor. I come from scarcity and lack mentality, which I think a lot of people can relate to. So when it came time for me to go to college, my parents said, "Well, we can't afford to pay for it, so you're going to have to take out loans." And yet the social structure of our world is you must go to college and get this education. You must do all these things. And I am a bit of a collector. If you really look at my resume, I've got probably every degree or certification anybody could ever want. And yet it really has not done anything to fulfill me or to give me that fulfillment, that where you really truly feel connected to your meaning and your purpose in your life. And maybe it's come with my age and wisdom. And I know I have a lot of years left because I'm taking all 120 that were given. But I really feel now that I'm not willing to compromise anymore. I am ready to go out and get meaning and purpose, which is number one for me. And I am ready to start this business because it's all mission driven for me. Now it's about helping other people and truly standing up for what I know is right, and also, not putting my security into a regular paycheck, which that's the terrifying piece is, you go on a roller coaster when you're an entrepreneur, and my head knows that. But I have spent most of my life believing that degrees and certifications and achievements are what was going to earn me or win me whatever this fulfillment was that I was trying to attain. And I've realized I'm not getting that. And so just because there's a steady paycheck involved, there's no fulfillment. So I don't count that as security. And it's time to change that. I'm ready to get out there on my own and do this.
So the narrative we don't have yet is behind the scenes. So you have been getting your certifications, you have been becoming educated, and you've been working for someone else. And you are, in my mind, an entrepreneur at heart. You have all the things that an entrepreneur needs. And now is your time to step out and build your business around all the things that you're already practicing. So talk a little bit about that sort of transition and that journey into your own vision, your own business. Like, what has it taken for you to decide to take that step out on your own?
That's a funny question for me. So I have had so many jobs where I have worked since I was 14 and a half. And the majority of my work career, I have been in management. And I have led other people. I'm a natural leader. It's quite obvious the way that I have conversations with people. I'm not afraid to get up in front of a group and speak. And just when I'm around others, I'm extroverted. So I draw energy from other people. And so people naturally look to me to lead. And so I've always kind of known that. And I've always known that I've had a leadership ability. And again, I thought that that was management. I thought that was where I needed to be and always be the one in charge, because I'm very decisive. I know exactly what I want. I know what goal, I list out my goals and then I go get them. There's really no room for compromise. I'm pretty black and white that way. And so it has taken me so long, though, to kind of identify the common denominator in every one of the positions I've ever held. And my husband always tells me this, and I just laugh. He's like, your problem is that no matter what job you get, you're never going to be happy because you don't like working for other people. And that kind of struck me like pretty sharp, and he has to. You have to really kind of hit me hard because to wake me up sometimes. And I just laughed at that because he was right. I do not want to work for another person. I know how to do this. All I need are the tools, and I just need to go and actually do it and step out and take action. I have just adopted a new motto for my life, and that is, you can't think your way forward. So now it's time to start taking action and moving. And because I've been thinking for, 20 plus years, and now it's time to just move. I've always tried these little side businesses or MLMs. I'm always really drawn to those things, especially if it's a product that meshes with natural health or an opportunity that I think is a huge opportunity. And I can see those things and I'm naturally attracted to it. Like a bird to a piece of foil. It's like, ooh, shiny, I want the next thing. But yet I can never seem to grab hold of it. And I never realized what that meant. And now I'm starting to realize that I wasn't the creator of those things. And I get so much more fulfillment and I feel so much more productive when I'm creating. And because it's all up here in my head and I know what I need to do. And action has been the step that I've been missing this entire time.
So what are you building?
Oh boy, I don't know that I'll ever stop building, but currently what I'm building is a wellness practice. And I'm hoping to build education. I want to offer a lot of education for people. And I'm building a coffee shop. Actually, once I purchased a coffee company very recently, and one of the things that I believe is when you step into what you're meant to do, opportunities just start showing up and you just have to grab them. Like they're there, they make themselves available, and it's almost easy. And I don't mean that in the way that I'm not going to have to work, because I'm a worker bee. I'm not afraid of work. But when I purchased this company, I was okay just thinking that it was going to be whole bean and ground pound bags of coffee online, and I was going to get it into a lot of retail stores, and sell it to them wholesale. And within 2 weeks of me purchasing the company, I now have two locations in our downtown where I'm from that are putting in coffee shops and have asked me to use my coffee and open these stores. And it was something I had thought about down the road, sure, I'll do that in 5 years or whatever. And now the opportunities are here, and all of the connections and resources just kind of keep appearing. And so I feel like this is the moment that I need to just kind of take hold of that and take the risk and move with it. So it's seemingly on two different tracks, the natural health business. But with that, I really want to build a clientele of people who haven't found their answer anywhere else, and that they are willing to be curious and come along on a journey with me to seek better health options to improve the foundations of their health. Even if they're on medications with their doctor, we can coexist together in separate lanes, but we can still, it's not, nothing I do is going to interact with medications or anything, but to just truly help people see a better way and maybe even think a little bit better for themselves. And then on the other parallel track is these coffee shops. One of them in particular is going to be a natural produce market. And so it'll be produce and healthy foods that are offered in addition to this coffee shop. And then there will be other local businesses that have their products in there as well. But that was one of the intents. This is a collaboration project. So the guy that reached out to me wanted to basically collaborate with a natural health practitioner. And he wanted somebody who knows about natural wellness and who could really kind of help push his produce, because I mean, he has beautiful, beautiful produce and very attractive. You want to eat this stuff. It's beautiful. And so he wanted to really help inform the public that maybe you don't want that greasy breakfast sandwich down the street. Maybe you want a healthier option. And he wanted to partner with somebody that could kind of help do that. And when he found out what the other track was for me, he said, "Oh my gosh, you're the perfect person to do this." And so there I was, finding myself, with those two seemingly unconnected tracks. They're all of a sudden connecting because I was what he was looking for. And I truly believe what we are looking for is looking for us too. And I felt that the other day when I met with him, and I really felt like, this was meant to be.
So the theme I want to kind of dig into here, because I know you can speak to this and I know that I can speak to this, and I have like this sort of subset of clients who come to me and are like you and like me, who are multi-passionate, who have lots of different interests, and the pervasive wisdom that we get in business and just kind of in general in life is that we need to focus, right? We need to focus and we need to do this one thing and do it really well. But for people like you and I, that doesn't work. And I remember a client coming to me years ago, and she was one of my first clients, and she said, "This is going to sound crazy. You're probably going to tell me off about this, but I have all these different ideas and I want to kind of do them all." And for some people, that's a distraction. For some people, that's them being very fearful and not committing. But there's a certain personality type like us where we have to have all of these different interests, but what, because we get excited by them and that's what we kind of thrive on. But the key, like when you came to me, you said you're going to tell me to do a whole bunch of, to stop doing a bunch of stuff, but to me the key is actually figuring out the common thread, because I do believe all of these separate interests are actually coming from a common place. So what is that common thread amongst all the things that you're interested in doing? And for you it was this wellness, and you have like this crazy set of skills and all of these different certifications and interests that you can bring together into a wellness practice. But to me, the common thread was wellness. So, how does it feel now to be to know that all of these things, you have permission to do them, but underneath this umbrella that you're creating, I think you needed to create the container.
Yeah, I feel like in the past I was nervous that people would look at me and go, she doesn't know what she wants. She's not clear on who she is. And now that I have permission to do all of these things, it's almost like that connection thread becomes more and more apparent. And at the bottom of all of it, it's helping people with basic things. And maybe it's even giving other people permission too to stop being afraid, to try new things, to go out and achieve and accomplish their dreams, whatever that looks like. What changed to make me feel like I could do all of these things or connect them together was truly making a map with you and working that out and understanding that we can create something. We just have to have a plan, and then we just need to work that plan. And because I was always, I'm more of a visionary type, so I see a very, very broad picture. And oftentimes I need to partner with people who have a little bit more laser focus because that keeps me on track onto one thing. I can see the end, I can see the success, I can see how something is going to be beneficial or fruitful. The getting there sometimes is where I get lost in the chaos because I think so big that the baby steps of what that looks like are sometimes lost on me. So creating a plan was what really kind of pulled it all together for me. I had a visual. I could look at that and I could dial into each and every piece and really kind of develop each piece of it as part of the greater whole. When before on my own, I could only see the greater whole. And that's great. Sometimes you need, I'm like the perpetual cheerleader. I'm always the person that's like, you can do it. You can do anything you want, and I believe that for myself too. But then when it comes time to making the move, you're kind of like, what do I do first? How do I prioritize this? How do I actually strategically connect these things together so that they make sense and I don't confuse people? And what really has anchored that for me is honing in who I am and learning my identity and my brand, which is all tied together. When I am more clear on who I am and what I want at my core, then the rest of it becomes a little bit simpler on how I can serve other people through these passions. Because we don't just follow passions just because it feels good. I mean, I don't anyway. Yes, that's what kind of catches our attention, but there's a purpose to it. And I truly believe that everything that we are passionate about or everything that we find interest in, we're meant to for a reason. There's a specific skill set or gifting that we carry, and maybe we don't know it yet. So that's why we need to stay curious and keep looking at all of those passions, see if they go anywhere. And then sadly sometimes you have to let some of them go. I love writing, and as an example, and I would see opportunity in ghostwriting other people's books. And you taught me a very valuable lesson in that process, because I was about to pitch book to this woman who wanted me to write her story or a proposal to her. And you said, I just think that you need to let this go. Like, this isn't serving you and moving you forward necessarily. It might just be funding you. And in that moment, I was trying to get out of the golden handcuffs. And that's all my brain would allow me to focus on and it was almost a desperate move, right? How do I get out? I just need to make some money. And if I can keep generating money over here, then that will allow me to leave earlier. I don't think I'm the personality type that can just ever say enough. I have enough. I'm ready to go. So it's time now to just pull the Band-Aid off and do it. But that was a project I had to actually let go of. I was terrified. I had to reach out to this woman who I was good friends with and just say, I don't think I can do your project justice, and I want you to have the very best. And I don't feel that I can deliver that because I have so many other things going on. And she actually was going to reach out to me and tell me she wanted to take a crack at writing her own book. So it was sort of out there anyway, and we both were in the same place. And it was such a burden that was lifted off my shoulders. And since then, I've actually let go of a couple of other things too. And I've really dialed it into what I want to focus on. And that is my natural wellness business and my coffee business now. And I'm just so excited because I'm starting to really feel that pull of the focus, and then productivity happens, and that's a beautiful thing.
But that's the important thing, is that the focus is in the right place. Like, it doesn't mean that it's limiting you, But like everything you just said is exactly why we do all of this work on understanding you first before we start looking at your business model and your plan, because that brand, so to speak, that kind of positioning of who you are is what informs the kind of container you're building for. So what we want to do is we want to create you something where you can continue to be to like be creative and have these ideas, but it all fits within something. And I think that meant that sort of a mentally anchors you and allows you to have all of these ideas and continue to build these ideas without feeling like you're spinning out into something that doesn't fit. So understanding that first, I think, was really important for you. So now you are transitioning out of a quote unquote job where you were successful and you're pulling all these pieces together. Can you talk a little bit about what you're building? Because you have this more not traditional, but this more well-defined kind of wellness practice where you're doing all these different types of treatment, but you're also pulling in like money and emotional health and other things too. And I love this approach. I think this is super interesting. And that this is like another area where you've kind of collected all this knowledge and this information and you can provide those services as well. But what does it feel like for a client to come and work with you and see that you're touching on all of these different points?
That's a great question. I think at the root of all of that is exactly that word, the root. What I do as a practitioner is I find the root cause. And I always continue to ask, it's like the 5 whys. You just continue to say, well, why? Okay, great, but why? And you just kind of keep going back and back and back until you're finally butted up against a wall and you've got your answer. And then that's where we chop that root off so that it can't grow anymore. And so it's great to help someone physically feel well. And that's traditionally where I start, because I think when we feel a little bit better physically, that allows our brain to be more positive and to be able to handle going on to the emotional side of things. The wealth piece of this comes in. I truly believe that a majority of our physical and mental health issues have wealth problems at its core. You'll hear a lot of people say that they came up from scarcity lack mentality. That is psychologically damaging. And I can say that because I came from that. And I don't blame my parents. I don't blame their parents. It's just something that's always there. And it's actually a mindset, and it's a stronghold of a mindset. And so I can't sometimes just start in that space with someone unless they've done a lot of other work. If they've got physical needs are met, they don't have any physical issues that they're coming to me for, definitely I can start in that space, and we will explore emotional blocks and things from our childhoods, things that formed our doctrines, our mental doctrines. I call it a screen. It's like everything that we hear and manage in our world has to go through our screen, and everyone's screen is different based on how you were raised and what you were taught, and then the education that you received. So a lot of times that's kind of like cutting through a jungle, because you have to break off some belief systems or mindsets until there's breakthrough. And there is actually a process I use called emotional release, where I use a magnet. And we know and can identify that there is an emotional block in there. And we don't know that it's the one that's holding the person back from, achieving the health that they want or breaking that mindset, but any emotional block we need to get rid of. So we don't have to relive things together. I don't have a couch I ask people to sit on. I don't have them tell me their horrible childhoods. It's more just, there's an emotion associated with every single organ in the body. So for example, if you're having issues with your liver and your doctor has given you diagnoses, I don't personally address diagnoses or disease names, but if your liver is the thing that's causing you problems in your life, I can tell you anger is associated with that. So that's where we would begin our journey, is to be curious about, what are you angry about? And I use that as an example because I grew up very, very angry, and I never seemed the type. I was always happy-go-lucky and the funny one. I got voted class clown of my graduating high school class. So I hid behind that. And I found out also through a lot of self-discovery that I used theater as a way to hide, which is not hiding in, for most people, but I was hiding behind other characters in order to get out the emotions that Shannon myself was feeling. And it was a good ruse. I could call myself a different character, and that's why everybody thought I was so good at acting, because my emotions were real. I was just doing it behind someone else's face. And so that's basically, where I want to go with people, is helping them get to that emotional core. And then the wealth side, again, going back to that, I would reckon to guess that if somebody has unsuccessful finances or issues in their current finances, if there's a lot of debt, if they just don't have any money, or they're spending more than they're actually making, I'm going to bet a lot of money that they've got physical problems. And there's not a lot of research done where these two things combine or intersect. But coming out of that myself, and really struggling for 20 plus years to try to figure this out, I can tell you that they're connected very, very closely. And the same goes the other direction. That my day job is actually in Western medicine. So it's a difficult one for me because my mindset is it doesn't match. But what I continue to see over and over and over is patient comments where they say, "Why are you making me get this lab? You're just trying to get my money. I can't go to the doctor because I don't have money. You sent me to the ER, which is a higher charge. So, and I don't have enough money for that." So they get upset that that somebody thought they needed urgent care or emergent care. So money is really at the root. Some people will let their bodies get to the point of no return because they don't have the money to go pay a doctor to give them their answer. And I believe Western medicine to be a huge industry. It's a business. It's not serving other people. They don't cure anything, they treat. And so money's at the root of that. And I want to help people get beyond those things. So that's one of my large focuses, is where health and wealth intersect.
So tell me a little bit about how you're finding your clients and who are you looking to work with?
I find a lot of my clients through social media. Also, I've made connections making some rounds on guesting for podcasts out there. And when the crowds kind of hear what I offer, and something kind of aligns for them, they reach out through social media or my website, and they're looking for exactly who I'm looking for, which is people who are willing to try something new, try a different, people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're willing to just do anything. Some people are very open-minded and they're like, "Okay, what do you have for me?" Other people are like, "Oh no, my doctor says I can't do that." And so then that takes a little bit longer to chip away. What I am finding is a lot of people that are getting drawn to me are the really complex cases. And I feel like there's something to that. I just haven't figured out what that is yet. But I get people that have really difficult situations, even for medical doctors, transplant patients where they want to get off their anti-rejection medication. And I, just as a disclaimer, I do not actually get people off of their meds. That is between you and your doctor. If your doctor prescribed that medication, then they will unprescribe that medication. I will not address the medication bit, nor will I address diagnoses or disease names, but there's always, we can have a discussion about how do you feel? What's your general state of health? And I can kind of attack it from the other side. So, I mean, I don't know if that really answers the question that you asked me, but I find most of my people through social media and then referrals.
Right. And that is how you're going to start building this new business. And I think that we talked a lot about traditional marketing and that sort of thing. And that may not be something that you even need to, that's not a path you really even need to go down, because you have enough of a network, and you're being quite picky about who you're going to be working with. So what is the plan? I think the plan is, really to dive into this full time in September, something like that.
Yeah. And I was going to add really quick too, that teaching classes is another way that I will get my clientele. I think that's a really safe space for people to engage in a common discussion of health. where they don't have to let all of their stuff out, but that earns trust in me. Like they'll say after taking a class, I get, wow, she really knows what she's talking about. And that kind of gives me a little bit more trust for them. So my plan, yeah, I am just wanting to dive right in with people and start with health consults, natural health consults. They're very, very comprehensive. I will spend a minimum of 1 hour asking questions, and it might be uncomfortable for some people, but I've got to know a lot of things. Every single person is so unique and so different. This is no cookie cutter approach. I believe Western medicine, for the most part, they have a system that they follow. What are your symptoms? And then depending on the symptoms, that's how they act. For me, everybody's journey has been so unique and so different that it'll never be the same response. I'll never put people on the same exact path unless that is exactly what they're needing to start with, at a very broad foundational level. But even the order of how I start people on remedies, let's say, it's going to always vary depending on the person's story. And that's what's going to keep it very, very exciting for me. And I don't need to do a lot of traditional marketing, like going out on radio shows or TV or any of that, because it speaks for itself. And I'm not interested in becoming this superstar famous person. I genuinely just want to help people. And I want to carry out my mission. And that's to give people their health back and to have them make the decisions for their health, not necessarily their doctor. Their doctor should be a facilitator of their health and should collaborate. And that's what I want to do. I want to collaborate or facilitate the journey of health with people. I have the knowledge. I share that. They choose. And that's the way that it should be.
So one of the things that I think a lot of people get fearful of or they're just not sure how to execute is that transition from, a steady paycheck into something that's a little like uncertain and unknown. And that's the big question, right? For a lot of people is, when do I make that transition? Can you talk a little bit around your thinking and how you've shifted that mindset to be able to step out on your own?
That is probably my greatest stronghold in this whole experience. And I am really pushing myself to look fear in the face on this one. I by no means have this stockpile of money that I've created to the point where I can feel comfortable leaving and like, oh, I can build at, whatever rate it happens organically. I'm about to jump into some hustle culture. I'll just be quite honest. I don't know that I would recommend that for every personality type out there, but for my personality type, it's kind of the only way, because what's really holding me back is the fear. And so it's the cord that I have to cut to just jumping off and doing that. And so mentally, how I've prepared to do that is really, again, getting clear on who I am as a person and knowing what my mission is and believing in it, believing that I am going to get the business that I need to get. The business will come to me. I believe the universe is very reciprocal that way. When you put good things out, good things come back. And no matter what that looks like, it really does reflect who you are. I do a lot of abundance mindset stuff, and it really comes down to that. And it's taken me a very long time to get to that place because of the scarcity and lack that I came out of. It's been years and years trying to beat that down and get rid of. There is a little bit of fear there, but I really feel, and this is going to sound so almost hokey, I know, but I feel the only way to get over the scarcity and lack mentality once and for all is to look it right in the eye and put myself in it again. And I have 2 kids, I have a husband, 3 dogs. I mean, I have a lot to provide for. We have what we consider to be our dream home. I don't want to lose that, I know what's at risk. I am putting a lot on the line to do this. My husband is fully supportive of me. And again, it's just taking action. And that's something that I have not allowed myself or given myself permission to do yet. My husband was another kind of barrier to that too, because you don't want to just do that without a discussion when you're in a marriage, that because somebody else is relying on you too. And I feel that we have a true partnership, and that would not be fair or right of me to just make that leap without making sure that he's prepared and ready to come with me. He and I have dreamed together about having a space to teach. He is an artist and he wants to teach children, comic book art and all sorts of art classes. And I just recently found an office space where we will have a place to do that. And so I think this process for me has also helped him dream a little bit more too. He has never not believed in me. He always says, if anybody can do it, you can do it. But again, it's just that it's never been done before with us. Like, we've always had the steady paycheck. And so apart from that, the mental switch is, I just have to take action. It's time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for you, and I think for everybody as well, it's a combination of taking action paired with intuition, right? We don't trust our intuition enough. And usually when, my clients come to me with questions or something that they're trying to work through, sometimes I just won't answer them. If I've been working with them long enough, sometimes I actually just won't answer them. I'll give them a moment to think through it themselves. And usually they come back and they say, I kind of just thought, what would you say? And I figured it out on my own. Because we have a lot of intuition that we just don't trust because we've learned not to trust ourselves, right? Or we've learned that that's really scary or that's risky. And what if we're wrong? Well, what if we're wrong? Most of the time the world won't end, right? We're not saving lives. So I think for you, you're moving into what you call a hustle phase, but it's really more like just ramping up the action that you're taking, but you're still taking it in that really intuitive way. You're not going to go out and start running ads and doing all the things that are not really well aligned with what works, right? So you're moving into just a period of increased action.
Yes. 100%. And one of the big keys to that is moving from a problem-focused mentality to an outcome-focused mentality. And I know that this is commonly taught with life coaches and all sorts of coaches. It really became clear to me in the last year, this whole phenomenon where, again, it's scarcity and lack mentality, where we always think of the worst, the what ifs. But what if this happens? But what if this happens? And as much as you can say you've gotten out of that scarcity mentality, if you're still looking in your past going, oh, this happened before and I can't do it again, or anytime you look to the past, or you start to look at the problems that could potentially, possibly, probably happen, you are problem focused. If you want to be a creator and have an abundant life, you look at the outcome first and pull it towards you. Literally just pull like it's on a rope. You're just pulling it towards you. And that's kind of where I try to stay and keep my line of sight. What am I trying to create here? That's all I have to focus. Because whenever we look at our passions, if it's a true passion, you're going to light up so bright and you'll find supernatural energy to get it done. When I was studying natural health, I could study for 12 hours and not even realize I hadn't gone to the bathroom the entire 12 hours because I was that enraptured with what I was learning. And when you get that kind of a fire for something, you just keep following that cord and pull it towards you, because if we're focused on that, good will just come out of that, because that's exactly how we should identify. Some people are like, well, I don't know what I want to do. How am I supposed to identify that? Well, what lights your fire? I mean, what is it that it just captures your attention and your focus for so long? That's what you need to focus on, rather than all the things that could go wrong. So I do feel myself occasionally slipping back into that, oh no, but what if it's good for like a minute and then people just start dropping off? Or what if somebody says to me, I don't like how you've helped me? Well, then they're not your people. Then it's just not, your people are on the way. And you just have to keep focusing on what you want to create, because I want to be a creator. That's the entrepreneurial spirit and drive that I have. I want to be a creator. I can't do that if I'm looking backwards. I can't do that if I'm only sitting here thinking about it. If I'm not taking action and doing it and focusing on the right thing, then, I feel like that's where I've centered my thoughts on this whole process, is really just what's the outcome that I want.
Yeah. And that's been really intentional for you, I think.
Yes.
Okay. We're coming to the end of our time together, but there's a question I always ask everyone, and I want to ask you too. Now that you've had some experience as a business owner, what is the difference between what we hear out there in the world and what's real about being a business owner?
I would say a lot of what we hear in the world is that it's so hard. You don't get a lot of sleep. You work all these long hours, and who wants to work that hard? I just want to kind of do my job and go home and basically be a shell of a person. I feel like that's kind of the culture that's out there. What's different is that because it's a passion and it's something I connect to and something that I love, um, I want to do it. I don't notice the hours I'm spending on it. It's all it's fulfilling me as a person. I don't believe I can put a price on that. So even considering the steady paycheck versus the roller coaster potential of owning your own business, if I'm saying meaning and purpose are number one to me and that's getting fulfilled, then it doesn't matter. I'll find the money, I'll make it, I'll have what I need to survive, but fulfillment comes first. And I think that that's what people don't realize. And I think it's a lot of people who have never done it that are the loudest. Yeah, those that are saying it can't be done have never tried it.
Right.
And so,
And that's a lot of fear and like wishful thinking, right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. And entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that's totally fine. But for those who are on that precipice, I think, hearing what you just said is helpful. Okay. So this has been awesome, and I can't wait to talk to you again in a couple of days.
Yes.
But can you tell us, where can people find you?
People can find me on creativelightwellness.org, and it's at creativelight16 on Instagram and Facebook. And I am on LinkedIn as well, mostly just for the coffee business. And that, I believe, is also at creativelight16.
Awesome. Well, we'll put all the links in the show notes, and, go and check out Shannon and follow along with her new venture and her new journey and this new energy that she has. I really like the difference in your energy from when we started working together until now is like really, really notable. And I love it. I can't wait to see what you do next. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you, Shannon. Such an amazing conversation. Make sure you go and check out what she is doing, because she is a firecracker and she is going to be doing lots once she finally releases herself and lets go. And finally, I'd love for you to join us for our next episode, where we're going to be speaking with Liz Wilcox, who's an author and email marketing strategy expert that not only tells it how it is, but teaches entrepreneurs how to have fun and how fun and profitable emailing can be. So thank you again for being here. And if you've enjoyed today's content, I would love for you to give us a review on whatever platform you're on, because this helps us share our stories with an even bigger audience. Until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep being real.